Hi, welcome back. I hope you're all doing well. If you've ever walked in the streets of Egypt, odds are that you've seen at least some young people walking around with backpacks, books, and some other shape or form of school supplies, even long after school hours, during summer or winter breaks even. In any city, I'm not just talking about Cairo either, these are school students on their way to class. Private classes, nothing officially connected to any kind of school. Some might think, oh, so they're just homeschooling. No, that isn't the case. These kids also attend regular school during the day, and when that is over, their day is only starting because they have to go out again and head to their private classes. Students here are put under so much mental and physical load, it's not even funny, honestly. Especially high schoolers, which we'll get to in a bit. I'm sure anyone watching who's not from here is confused right now, so let me explain a little bit. This video is for you after all, Egyptians already know what's up. What are these private classes? Well, they are teachers, tutors, or whatever you want to call it really, having school kids come to them at their own home or a rented place dedicated to giving these classes. Think of it like if you were taking a private course, but for every single school subject. Now, of course, not one teacher gives all the subjects, which means that these kids often end up with 2 to 3 different teachers they see per day, each in different locations, meaning the students have to spend almost all of their day outside, either at classes or on their way to or from them. Some kids have even more classes if they are seeing more than one teacher per subject, and after all that is done, the student then has to do the homework for all the classes they take, and then also head to school the next day. Rinse and repeat for the full duration of the school year, and then some. Private classes usually start from a week to a month before actual school starts to get a head start and also get some extra money off the students. This is basically the general experience the average Egyptian student goes through, and it's only getting worse. When I was in it, actual school was still somewhat useful, at least halfway through. Inevitably though, I ended up taking private classes in high school because that's just what you do here. But some other, less fortunate students end up sent out to those as young as 7, just barely starting primary school. Going out on their own too, even in some cases, which is entirely way too much responsibility and pressure to put on a literal child. Now, let's address the obvious question. Why? Well, because in school, you don't really get any real education. Everyone is already taking classes outside school, and the teachers know that. So they just do the bare minimum, if that. After all, most of these kids are gonna see the teacher again later in the day for the private classes, where actual work is gonna be done. Kind of, anyway. Also, some of these teachers will literally blackmail you into taking classes with them, aka paying them privately, or they're just not gonna give you full materials that you need to pass, or just fail you. Who's gonna wash over them anyway? The next obvious question is, but what if I don't want to take private classes? Well, you're shit out of luck then. Better pick up self-learning at home and start grinding through the textbooks. Oh, and speaking of textbooks, the official ones the ministry hands out are absolute dog shit. They have little to no exercises, poor explanations, and are also just garbage quality, like the paper and ink used. But don't worry, there's an entire industry built on working around that, which is, as we call it, external books, which are textbooks printed by private publishing companies containing the same curriculum but with actual value to it, and the production is proper quality, or at least better than the official ones. Each external book costs at least £100 per subject, so you end up spending like a good 1,500 or more through both semesters on books alone. Oh, and by the way, the original books, the garbage the ministry hands out, are not free either. You pay for those and you are mandated to buy them. Before we move on from books, I want to add a little cherry on top, or the honky nose on the clown, I guess, to better fit this mess. You are not allowed to bring external books in school. Hell, external books are technically illegal, and in some year, I forget which one, they tried to crack down on them, which obviously failed, but I remember my own parents smuggling books for me and my siblings. They're allowed openly though now, at least. But why do you even attend official school then, if literally everything is external? To get a certificate. That's literally it. If you are not enrolled in a school and you go jump through all of these hoops, you can't take the tests and thus you can't get a certificate, and you're basically uneducated. After you graduate, you are still gonna be uneducated, by the way. The way the curriculums are set and taught doesn't teach you shit. It's literally all about memorizing stuff. Even scientific subjects like mathematics and physics are only like 10% thinking and 90% memory at best. How so? Well, most of your job as a student learning these things is not to understand, but to memorize memorize definitions, formulas, etc. And they are also unnecessarily advanced courses. When I went online to look for help on my math course in senior year of high school, everything I found was for university students. Why is a 17 to 18-year-old taking university level shit? Because of the pretentious mindset of Egypt. Hey, look, our courses and students are so advanced. They have shit beyond their age level, which does fuck all, obviously. But why is a certificate so important? You don't need college to succeed in practical life. I agree, but that is just the status quo here. And if meritocracy was a fantasy in the first world, here it's unheard of entirely. Even if you are qualified and certified, you can still get your opportunities cocked by someone with a connection somewhere or just a bigger pocket. In high school, you get to choose one of 3 fields to specialize in: arts, mathematics, or science. Yes, math and science are separate. What are the differences? Well, there are some common subjects, but there are also subjects exclusive to each. Geology and biology for science, calculus, algebra, and mechanics for mathematics, history, geography, and some other dumb shit for arts. Also, they don't actually study art. I have no idea why it's called that. After you graduate, what colleges you can go to is determined entirely by which branch you graduated from and how good your senior year grades are. Yes, only senior year counts. The previous 13 years are only leading up to it. Otherwise, completely irrelevant. Anyway, that is if we are talking about public colleges. If you have cash to spend and for some whatever reason decide to stay and study here, you can look into private colleges which cost a ton more but are less focused on your high school performance. And as far as I know anyway, we don't have a system for student loans, but that is not the most common scenario. Most students are thrown into public colleges because of how ridiculously cheap they are. I mean, seriously, for one of my college years, I paid around 400 Egyptian pounds for the whole year. That's $20 in today's money. It cost more than that just to commute to and from it. However, before you get too excited and start planning your study visa to Egypt, let me tell you that you get what you pay for. In my time in a public college, I have learned absolutely nothing. Let me give you a brief note on that while we're here. Books are the same. You buy them from the professor instead of the ministry because each of them has their own book and course. Some will make you buy it or they're gonna fail you. Some will force you to do it indirectly by simply only working from it in lectures. And some few saints will tell you it doesn't matter and actually let you decide if you want the book or not. The professor has absolutely unlimited power over the students as well. If you get off on the wrong foot, they can literally keep failing you on their subject every year. I personally was given a C on a subject in my first year because she didn't like my hair and the way I dressed one time and we had a little bit of an argument. I'm not even kidding. That was the only incident I had with her and I am absolutely positive that I aced all the tests and the projects and everything, and I didn't skip either. Still ended up getting an overall A in that year though, so suck it, bitch. Sociopathic professors aside, the educational process itself is really non-existent. You graduate and think you're ready to find work and kill it, but in reality you are as ready as you were before you enrolled. Okay, fine, that is a bit of an exaggeration, but the total gain is not worth 4 full years of your lifetime, effort, and money. But again, you have to play ball to get a shitty piece of paper proving that you did, so you can get a job in here or have better odds at immigrating if that's your way. That's just the way things are, unfortunately.
Get the fuck off my board!
But why are you telling us about this? Because this is a very foreign concept to outsiders. This whole private classes thing is so normalized here that nobody even questions it or talks about it, and we just roll with it. I'm not trying to start a movement for change or anything here. That's never gonna happen, really. There are so many businesses built off this twisted system. The same way Americans insist on using the imperial system, building with wood, and being entirely car dependent. There's entire economies built on fundamental flaws, not just here or there, but really anywhere in the world. To the point that it's just easier to suck it up and keep rolling with it instead of trying to change it for the better. So how did we get here? Well, it definitely wasn't a sudden change. We didn't like wake up one day and bam, schools are useless. It came gradually, and it had started long before I was even born. I just grew up and found it the way it is, like everyone else. Now, looking at the big picture, you might think this is not as bad as it sounds, but trust me, as an individual in their teenage or even pre-teen years, the immense load this circus of a system puts on you is literally traumatic. You have literal children already slaving away for school and not even learning anything in the process, and there's just so much emphasis put on high school and what college you go to, which adds even more stress on the student. So much so that in fact every year a handful of senior year students take their own lives. This is regular news every year around the time of finals. Now, after having made it through that system, looking back, it's all a bubble, and where you go doesn't really account for much. It's definitely not something over, but as a student who's in it, you don't know that, and I don't blame them. I know I didn't either back then. I mean, how could you know? I was at least fortunate enough to have a chill family that didn't pressure me about it, and despite that, it was still an absolutely shitty experience. So I cannot even imagine being pressured or even threatened by your own family over it, on top of everything. That took a dark turn towards the end, but it is the truth. Growing up here, we go around collecting traumas left and right. This is just one of the bigger ones. If you're still watching, I appreciate you. If you have any interesting stories from your education, Egypt or elsewhere, let me know in the comments. I would love to hear them. If you want to support my escape from Egypt, you can support me on Buy Me a Coffee. It only takes a minute and no sign up is required. It would mean the world to me, and you get a shout out in my next video every time you donate. Every donation is one step closer for me, and I greatly appreciate it. You can also come hang out with me and my fans in the Discord server. Links to both are in the description and channel bio. While I still have your attention, I would like to shout out B_Ma for being the current biggest supporter of the channel. While you're here, why not drop a like if you enjoyed the content? Maybe subscribe if you're not. I would love to have you around regularly. You seem like a fun person. And I have a bunch of cool stuff coming up that you wouldn't want to miss. All that being said, I love you all so much, and until next time, take care.